And now, proudly presented to you, it's the Symphony of Slams podcast with your host, Austin Edwards.
Hey there, folks, and welcome to the very first episode of the Symphony of Slams podcast, my take on the wild and zany world of professional wrestling. I'm your host, Austin Edwards, and today is January 28th, 2017. We've got a pretty good show ahead of you today, since it's the end of January. First thing we've got to talk about is the Royal Rumble. I've got to say, this year's Royal Rumble has been pretty unpredictable because the way that they've been building it is really unique in the sense that in the last couple of years, we've kind of had an idea of who was going to win this Rumble. For example, last year, Triple H, we already knew that he was going to win because it was just building up to this grand program with Roman Reigns. And I use grand kind of loosely because it kind of flopped, but regardless, people were expecting it from the very beginning because it was just a build a program. 2015, Roman Reigns. Everybody knew from the bottom up that Roman Reigns was going to win that match because they were building a program with Brock Lesnar. He had been the guy for so many months, and that was just their long-term goal, to get Reigns to that point where he could be in the main event, and it made the most sense at the time for them. 2014, Batista. Pretty self-explanatory there. Came back to promote Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe have a run with the WWE Championship for a little bit, face off in Vince's grandiose idea to have him and Randy Orton face off in the main event of Wrestlemania. But that just didn't work out, did it? Because other things got in the way. Daniel Bryan. 2013, John Cena. Well, that one's pretty easy to explain. It's just John Cena challenging The Rock in that rematch. They had it in the works. People were expecting it. There you go. But this year has been really good because they've been building up different guys and giving them different opportunities to shine and to just... There's just so much of a shuffle now that it doesn't seem like there's any one clear-cut winner. I feel like there are guys that have a little more momentum as opposed to other guys, such as Braun Strowman. He's just hauling ass during this entire thing because they've been booking him very strongly and they've made pretty smart decisions as to not compromise this character. He's going to do great things, at least that's what their intention is, and this might be the pedestal for him to do it. Also, Finn Balor, a lot of people are speculating that he's going to make his return because this weekend he's supposed to have some medical tests to determine whether or not he'll be cleared. And I think that would be an interesting scenario because obviously the reason why he'd be returning is because he was injured after winning the Universal Championship to begin with at SummerSlam against Seth Rollins last year. So it would make sense if he returned to basically win his opportunity back and to get that title at WrestleMania, maybe against Owens, maybe against Roman Reigns, maybe against somebody else, who knows. Chris Jericho would also be pretty realistic to set up this situation with Kevin Owens because they've mentioned that they're going to do a match together if Jericho somehow wins the Rumble. They would main event together in WrestleMania for the Universal Championship. But also don't count out Brock Lesnar or Bill Goldberg. Any one of those guys could win because there could be a possibility that in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania that one of those guys wins the championship. So the other guy would kind of have credence to win the Rumble so he could beat the other guy's ass at WrestleMania to set up that rematch. So it's not just for the sake of it being a rematch and for Brock to get revenge on Goldberg, it's now for the title. Undertaker obviously has a good chance of winning. He returned and was one of the first guys to really stake his claim as a guy in the Rumble. And, you know, it's Undertaker. He always has a pretty good chance at whatever he does. And I don't know. I see a lot of scenarios and possibilities with that, mostly being John Cena, but there are reports that that idea is being canned. I hope that's not the case because, quite frankly, that's a match that I and a lot of other people would like to see. John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Think about that. How does that sound? Does that sound appealing to you? Because that sounds pretty damn appealing to me. And then, of course, you've got your dark horses such as Baron Corbin and Sami Zayn and Big Cass and just a bunch of guys who seem like they have long shots of winning, but might end up going the whole distance and making it. And interestingly enough, betting odds show that Randy Orton is one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble right now. I find that kind of interesting because the scenario that would set up is him breaking up with the Wyatt family because they did that whole angle on SmackDown with him beating Luke Harper and then all of a sudden Bray Wyatt just lays out Luke Harper as if to say, hey, screw you, man. You're the weak one of the group, or hey, you need to learn your place. Randy knows where it's at. Maybe this could play into that thing of Orton playing mind games to a point where he's like, oh, okay, I have this opportunity now. So maybe Bray Wyatt enters the Elimination Chamber, wins the title, and then it's Orton and Wyatt at WrestleMania for the championship. So that'll pretty much culminate that feud there. Overall, it's pretty unpredictable, and quite frankly, I'm excited for this Sunday. A lot of things can happen, and we'll just see. All right, my predictions for the entire card. Cesaro and Sheamus versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson for the Raw Tag Team titles. I think Cesaro and Sheamus are going to retain because it's just so short into the reign so far that it wouldn't really make sense for them to lose it so early on. But that kind of sucks because Gallows and Anderson, they're so good. Just their presence is enough to revitalize the tag team division, and they've been doing kind of a bad job about it because they've been basically jobbing out to the New Day the whole last year, and they haven't really picked up many substantial wins. Every time they've pretty much fought for the titles, they've failed, which sucks if this is a situation that they're going to be put in, but I'm just afraid that they're going to be doing this cyclical booking where it's basically, oh, okay, you get a shot, oh, you lost, oh, it's okay. If these other two guys show up, you'll get another shot, it's fine. It's like recycling, and I don't like it, but I just hope that at least Gallows and Anderson will get a credible title run at some point in the future because I feel like they deserve it. Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. Not really sure what's going on with this feud. I haven't been really following it that much. I think Nia Jax faced Bayley for an opportunity to face Charlotte at the Royal Rumble, but Sasha Banks interfered and caused Bayley to win that match. So there's some sort of animosity between the two. And this is ever since Nia Jax showed up and just attacked Sasha after she lost at Roadblock. They're doing this little program, and I think Nia Jax is going to come off the victor because if they're building her basically as the female equivalent of Braun Strowman, then she's got to get some wins, and what better way to kind of kickstart that momentum or keep it going at least than to beat a 3-time women's champion. I mean, that only makes sense to me. Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, and Natalya versus Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Naomi. I'll just put it simply, I think the heels are going to win this match because Mickie James is back, and they need to kind of build her back up and show, oh wow, she's a credible threat to this female division in SmackDown. And by doing so, I think she would get the pin or the submission on, I'd say probably Nikki, because that would be a safe choice. Neville versus Rich Swann for the Cruiserweight Championship. A lot of people have been complaining about the Cruiserweight division, but it's mostly, I say, an issue with like storylines and just the way that the overall product of the Cruiserweights are presented, and it's weird. It's this weird hodgepodge. And a lot of people for the longest time were complaining about the Cruiserweights because Neville wasn't a part of them, but now he is. He has this new heel edge to him that allows him to fill a major role. He has the opportunity to be the cornerstone of the division. That's what the catchphrase, the king of the Cruiserweights, comes from, because he thinks that's what he is. Quite frankly, I can't disagree with him because he's been doing a phenomenal job. He's been doing great ever since he's came back, and he has this new edge to him. And I like Rich Swann too. He's very charismatic and he's just fun to watch. He's a great athlete and just a good wrestler. But on the whole, I think Neville is going to beat Rich Swann and win the title just to shoot new life into the division that's kind of faltering right now. Charlotte Flair versus Bayley for the Raw Women's title. I think that they're definitely building something up to Mania. There's a lot of speculation that they're doing this Daniel Bryan-esque story for Bayley where she's basically the underdog and they build it up and build it up. She's going to keep getting screwed and screwed and screwed, but oh, she's going to try. She's going to try. She's going to try her hardest, and she's going to rise from underneath the ashes, and she's going to come up and she's going to win the title. She's going to have her good moment, yada, yada, yada. You know, you've seen it before. It's a good story, but we have seen it before. I just hope they make little twists and turns on the way to WrestleMania to keep Bayley interesting and to give people incentive to actually root her to win the title. In any way, shape, or form, Charlotte's going to retain. Mostly it's a disqualification. She uses some sort of dirty tactic, and let's say, I don't know, what's her name? God, I forgot already. She's so forgettable. You know, I already forget her name. She's so forgettable. The one that follows Charlotte around. What's her name? Jeez, what was it? God. I don't even know. That girl. You know the one. Charlotte is going to retain, and it's going to set up their program in Mania, and Bayley's going to win the title. There you go. End of story. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Universal Championship, with the stipulation being that Chris Jericho will be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. They kind of did this scenario earlier last year at NXT TakeOver Toronto. The TM61 versus Authors of Pain match where Paul Ellering was suspended above the ring, and they'll probably do a situation where Chris Jericho has some sort of like item and Roman Reigns like sees it, and while the ref's not looking or is distracted by something else, gets the item, might be a chain, might even be the US title, and he bonks Kevin Owens in the face with it. And then he hits him with a spear. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Roman Reigns is new champion thanks to Chris Jericho, who inadvertently helped him. That's a situation that I see happening most likely. Or they could do it the safe way and just have Jericho hanging up there, not doing anything and not really do anything with the stipulation of the shark cage, which would be stupid. You have it there, you might as well do something with it. But it's WWE, they could do anything they want. So, anyway, I see Roman Reigns winning the title. John Cena versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. Now, since Cena has returned, he's been kind of getting an edge of his own. He speaks less about hustle and loyalty and respect, and kind of speaks more about just respect. Respect for him, because he's this guy who's been around for well over a decade and doing this only in WWE for that amount of time. And here comes this new guy, AJ Styles. Yeah, he's this hot commodity now, but he's just a guy from the indie scene. Who cares, right? This is the real deal, and I've been the guy who's been manning this company since the day I stepped in it. And there's an interesting little thing that I read on the Squared Circle Reddit. A user by the name of Pluto_507 stated that John Cena's new t-shirt trolls AJ Styles, basically. There's orange and blue, which are the primary colors of it, and the font is in a very specific script, and it's very similar to the Florida Gators logo. Now, take into consideration that AJ Styles is from Georgia, but is also a very big fan of the University of Georgia, and UGA's biggest rival? That's the Florida Gators. As for the match, I see it being potentially the match of the night. These two are more than capable of having an awesome blow-away match. In the same way that they did at SummerSlam and Money in the Bank, they just had these just stellar matches that really got to show AJ Styles off to the WWE fans, and I just don't see AJ Styles realistically stepping into WrestleMania with the title unless he's facing very specific opponents. For now, I definitely see Cena winning the title back and just heading into WrestleMania as the champion and taking on whatever newcomer or whatever old established veteran comes his way. And now for the big one, the Royal Rumble match. Now, as I had stated before, this match is pretty unpredictable in the sense that a lot of guys are being built up for it, and they're doing a good job of not clearly showcasing one guy over the other. They're giving a lot of guys really good coverage and really good screen time in order to say, oh, okay, let's just assume that all these guys have a reasonably good chance. As I said before, Finn Balor is being medically tested this weekend to see if whether or not he'll be cleared to compete for the Rumble, and if he is, I'm going to put my money on him and say he's going to WrestleMania to face either Owens or Reigns for the title and to get it back, to get back what he never lost to begin with. Everybody loves an angle where a guy returns from injury, especially a guy who returns sooner than expected. Look at Cena and Edge, they just pop right the hell out of nowhere. But if he does not return, my money's on Braun Strowman. This guy's had a pretty good run in 2016. They've been building him really well. He's been improving pretty good. He's still not at a level where he can probably even be that top guy at this point, but they're obviously planning big things for him. They're building him up really well. They haven't made a lot of stupid mistakes on the way to building him up to be this gigantic monster. They're not doing any comedy shtick gimmicks where he's like singing songs and saying suffer and succotash promos like the guy who he would likely be facing, Roman Reigns. I see Braun Strowman winning this match and taking on Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship because, as we all know, Vince has a fetish for big guys juking it out, bringing out their fisticuffs. He has a thing for that, and he especially has a thing for a really, really big dude serving as an obstacle for a somewhat smaller yet still kind of big dude to overcome. Andre and Hulk. Now for the match itself, I envision some pretty fun spots. A good one is I see either Heath Slater or James Ellsworth alone in the ring. Let's just say that there are two guys in the ring already and they end up eliminating each other. The buzzer goes off and it's Heath Slater or James Ellsworth. Either one of those guys hops on in the ring, really excited. They've got their arms raised, they've got their fists clenched, they're super stoked. They're running the ropes. They're making circles around the ring. They're hitting the turnbuckles. They're climbing up the ropes. They're raising their hands to the crowd, trying to get them worked up. And then the buzzer sounds. And it's either Brock Lesnar or Braun Strowman. Now keep in mind, the whole I have kids thing that Heath Slater was all about last year. A major part of that was walking up to Brock Lesnar during an episode of Raw and saying, I know you're going to kill me, but I need this job here on Raw, so I have to challenge you. I have kids. I have a family to provide for. And he goes in the ring and gets beaten mercilessly by Lesnar. So the buzzer would hit, and he's just having a look of death in his eyes as he hears that guitar riff go off. He has flashbacks of that night where he got his shit pushed in, and Lesnar comes out. There's one tiny morsel on a big dinner plate, and he wants it. Heath Slater is paralyzed with fear in the ring, and Lesnar shows up, heads into the ring, stares him down. Heath Slater is begging and pleading. He's on his hands and knees. He reaches into his tights and he pulls out a wallet, and you're wondering why would he have a wallet in his tights? But then he opens it up to reveal like a little flip thing where it shows all the pictures of the children that he had on SmackDown, just to show, hey, Lesnar, I have kids, man. You remember? We had this conversation earlier, and Lesnar slaps it out of his hand and just starts throwing him around, and then he eventually F5s him and tosses him out of the ring. That would be hilarious. Same thing with Ellsworth. He'd be doing the same thing, and all of a sudden, Strowman comes out. Which is the reason why Ellsworth... That was the break that even got him into the company to begin with, is just jobbing out to Strowman, because he was so great in the role. And same thing, he begs and pleads, but Strowman, he's not going to have any of that. He has his reasons to torment this little punk. He's the reason that he got eliminated from the Survivor Series match last year when he was trying to climb up to the ring and Ellsworth was underneath the ring holding his legs so he couldn't get back in. So he wants revenge. I think Samoa Joe would be a great debut. He hasn't been on television in a few weeks, and he could have like a big stare down with a big guy like Brock or Strowman or Goldberg. And it's reported that a lot of NXT, if not all of the NXT guys, will be backstage during the Royal Rumble. So two of the other likely names for the Rumble would be Shinsuke Nakamura and Tye Dillinger, and that would be pretty interesting because they still have some open slots to fill. And between NXT potential call-ups / appearances and special guest appearances / returns, I think that would be good. Kurt Angle returns. I think this is a good chance for Kurt Angle to return to the ring. Granted, it'd be in a limited role. I don't think he would last too long, but he would have a presence that would have everybody talking. They pulled him from an independent show that he was supposed to do tonight, actually. So that kind of gives an indication that they're planning on doing something with him. Since I predicted Strowman was going to win, I have the sense that he's going to eliminate a bunch of dudes, at least 10. Like, he can eliminate a bunch of big guys like Kane, Big Show, Big Cass, Baron Corbin, and then other guys like Enzo if he were in it, or Jericho, or Ziggler, or Luke Harper, or Sami Zayn, kind of put the nail in the coffin in that feud. He can eliminate Undertaker as a shock. Like, I feel like they'd do big and great things for Strowman in this Rumble. They'd make him look like the most dominant guy in the entire match, because that's what they're building him up to as. I see Randy Orton turning on Bray Wyatt during the Rumble match and eliminating him. Again, to set up that match at Wrestlemania, whether Orton wins or not, there's a good chance that they're going to fight at Wrestlemania. They're going to have a match. I just get a feeling that it's going to happen. They're planting the seeds for something. They've been doing it for months. And this whole Orton is part of the Wyatt family. It's part of this story of Orton getting the better of Bray by playing mind games. Kind of in the same way Daniel Bryan did a few years ago, but it's not... They haven't pulled the plug on it so quickly. Kofi Kingston saves himself from elimination. He does that every year. It's the fan favorite spot he does in pretty much every sort of battle royal, mostly Royal Rumbles. Can't think of an exact scenario, but I know they're planning something because that's just his gimmick. I see the final two. Again, if Balor's going to win, it's going to be Balor or Strowman. If Finn Balor is the last guy and he's going to win, I think it's going to be him and Braun Strowman as the final two. Kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kane in 2001, where there's this guy who's going to have to fight above all obstacles to get this monster out of the ring and to win the match, because he's the only thing left standing between him and the title shot. So I think they'll have a good back and forth match, and eventually Balor will do everything that's humanly possible to get Strowman over the top rope, maybe kind of hold him over and use all of whatever strength he has left to pull him over, and all of a sudden he's gone, and Balor is going to WrestleMania. Or, if Strowman's going to win, you could tie into these rumors that Randy Orton is going to win by having the final two be Randy Orton and Braun Strowman. Just have them have a good old back and forth Rumble match. Orton thinks he's got the best of him, and bam, Strowman throws him out. Wins the match. Braun Strowman is going to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. Ultimately, I think either of those two scenarios would work. I see Brock Lesnar and Goldberg eliminating themselves from the Rumble. They're both in the ring either by themselves or they're surrounded by people, but everybody stops because they know that something calamitous is about to happen, and they just go at it. They just beat the heck out of each other for solid 30 seconds at least, and eventually it leads to both of them getting so heated that they eliminate themselves from the Rumble and start brawling outside. This would probably be good for like a dull spot in the match where not a lot's happening, so people won't have to be as invested in the match itself going on in the ring, so they can watch these two monsters just beating the hell out of each other outside, and to again set up their Mania rematch. Overall, I'm looking forward to the Royal Rumble. If you're looking forward to it, leave it in the comments below what you think is going to happen, who you think is going to win. And now, for my match of the week. And since it's Royal Rumble season, I'm a little excited. I'm going to break this down into two categories, and that means two matches. So we'll do a normal match, and the first match is Seth Rollins versus John Cena versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at the Royal Rumble in 2015. I remember sitting in my room and I invited a friend over and we were watching it for the first time, and I just had a sense that this Rumble was going to be bad, but I figured that this match was going to be what redeemed the entire show, and by goodness, it did that and then some. This match was unbelievable. At that time, it was one of the best matches I'd seen in a long, long time. It had high intensity and there wasn't ever really a dull moment where I had to sit on my hands and think, oh, okay, it's going too slow. I never got that sense. I love the dynamic of Brock Lesnar being unstoppable. They do a good job of making Brock Lesnar look like a stone mountain whenever he gets in the ring. Just an immovable object, for lack of a better term. Nobody can beat him alone, so John Cena and Seth Rollins are basically taking turns trying to knock this guy out so they can make it one-on-one between them. Because they know they're not going to do it with Lesnar in the equation. So they do everything to try to get this big monster down. And when they finally do, it's just the two of them. And they have an awesome match together until, boop, oh, Lesnar's back up. Oh no. There are a lot of memorable spots in the match. Cena's double AA to Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble, the elbow drop onto Brock by Seth Rollins from the top turnbuckle, that was ridiculous. I remember just screaming. I wasn't even screaming at Lesnar being hit, I was screaming at Rollins because he just literally bounced off of the table. I thought he had seriously elbow buckled or he hurt himself or something. It was amazing. The Phoenix Splash by Seth Rollins onto John Cena before Lesnar pops back in the ring and just destroys. Just a phenomenal match. I recommend you go see it. And speaking of Royal Rumble, how about the 2007 Royal Rumble match? The match itself as a whole was okay. There were some decent moments like Sabu getting chokeslammed through the table by Kane, Khali coming in kind of later at the end and kind of tossing mid-carders out left and right. And then all of a sudden Undertaker comes out and then it starts to pick up. He eliminates Khali and it's a great show of strength. In the final four, Edge, Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker, until it's inevitably Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker being the only two left, and they proceeded to have the best finishing sequence to a Royal Rumble match ever. The last several minutes were unbelievably great. The drama was high, there were these realistic teases to eliminations that could have happened at any moment. A lot of great action, they traded finishers back left and right, and the right man went over. Shawn Michaels before had won this twice already, and Undertaker never had. Undertaker was already going to WrestleMania, but he kind of needed that win to really cement himself back into people's eyes, and it did wonders for him, and that match did wonders for him. So I definitely recommend, if nothing else, check out the last 10 minutes of that match from the point Undertaker comes in at number 30. Just go on and watch that match, it's great. So, this has been Symphony of Slams. I'm Austin, and until next time, keep on slamming, folks.